Hello, welcome to episode 136 of A Stitch in Time. Today is Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. My name is Carol. I can be found on Ravelry as Knitsnpurls, and I'm coming to you from my home in the Fraser Valley, not too far east of Vancouver, where we're enjoying a beautiful spring day. It's been sunny most of the day. I went outside for a little while this morning, did a little bit of knitting, watched the birds at the feeder. Still a little bit of a nip in the air though, a bit of a cool wind. There's still snow on the mountains, and you can definitely feel it down here on the valley floor. Anyway, if you're new to the podcast, hello, welcome. Thanks for coming by and checking things out. I hope you like what you see and that you'll be back. And of course, if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Thanks for coming by once again to spend some time with me. And as always, but I mean it every time I say it, thank you to everyone who reached out to me this past week. I always enjoy hearing from you, and I appreciate that you take the time to reach out and say hello. I hope everyone who celebrates Easter had a nice holiday weekend. Ours was definitely quieter than usual, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. And of course, this is Passover week, so happy Passover to those of you who celebrate that holiday. If you're finding yourself in need of a little company these days and maybe a little crafting to go along with it, if you're so inclined, come by the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group and join in the chatter in the Keep Calm and Craft Along thread. Everyone's welcome. There's more chatting than crafting going on, and that's just fine. So yeah, if you just need a place to hang out for virtually for a little while, by all means pop by there. I actually have a finished project this week, for real, not just one I'm going to talk about and not be able to show you like last week. I also have several works in progress, so let's get on with it, shall we? My finished project, I am so happy to say, is the sixth and final pair of socks from the Handmade Sock Society 2 by Helen Stewart. So let's see, there should be in frame. These are the Dorsal Socks. They are knit from Ocean Wind Knit Sock in the Bite colorway. That is Bite, B-I-G-H-T. A small bay, and I chose this yarn because it reminded me of Robson Bite, which is a small bay on Vancouver Island where orcas come to rub their bodies on the shallow beaches. And this design features a stitch pattern that reminds me of a whale's tail, or fluke as it is called. So it was my aim this week to finish these. So I really just put my head down and got to it. So very happy to be able to move on to the Handmade Sock Society 3 patterns now, considering that there have already been 2 patterns released in that collection. So this is the last you will see of these Dorsal Socks. Luckily for me, I get to see them for years to come and wear them whenever I feel like it. Okay, tuck these over here. So another project that I've decided just to put my mind to finishing are the Vicar's Wife socks. So I began these socks 3 years ago as part of an Agatha Christie along that I was holding in the Ravelry group. And I knit up the first sock fairly quickly. It's very pretty. Has this lace pattern down the front and then a very intricate cabled pattern down the back. And I know it's this that was really preventing me from knitting sock number 2. It takes a lot of concentration, as you might imagine. The chart is 40 rows long between the front and the back. Mind you, this pattern here is only an 8-row repeat, and I don't remember how many rows repeat here, but in order to get this side and this side repeating at the same point, it's a 40-row chart. I modified the pattern slightly. I'm really picky. OCD, you might call me. Anal might be another word. About things being centered and things matching and being symmetrical if they're supposed to be, etc., etc. And there are a couple of things that I was picky enough about this to want to fix. One is that I can't remember exactly, but this is a 64 stitch cast on for the size I'm doing. And with that stitch number, it meant that there was I think it was one less stitch on the front, and there was something going on in the back. I wasn't happy with it, so I ended up increasing my cast on to 66 stitches. That gave me a three stitch reverse stocking stitch line that goes down the middle instead of 2. And I can't remember what it did. Maybe it added one more stitch on the side. I can't remember exactly. It's been too long. But good thing I sort of marked it on the chart, so I had good notes to start from again. And I also modified the ribbing a little bit so that it would line up with some of the stitching on the back. Just, again, they're just things I like ribbing to flow into the pattern, or the pattern to come out naturally from the ribbing. In any case, it was just a minor adjustment, but it made my little OCD heart go pitter patter. So anyway, sock number 1. It's knit in Ancient Arts 3-ply fingering sock, and it's in the flamboyant colorway. So when I finished the dorsal socks, I immediately pulled this project back out and cast on sock number 2. And I have spent, for the last few days, it's more or less all I've worked on. And before I went to bed Monday night, I had finished up to the heel flap. And then I think I might even have done, yeah, I think I did the heel turn and picked up for the gusset before I went to bed. So that on Tuesday I was able to start on the foot, and as you can see, I'm well down the foot. I think I just have about 10 rows or so to do before it's time for the toe now. Now that complicated pattern on the back is done, I think I said already, this is just an 8-row repeat for the lace. So this part moves pretty quickly, and 4 of those rows are plain knitting. So able to zip along with that fairly quickly. So I'm excited to be so close to finishing this project. Kind of kicking myself for leaving it for 3 years. On the other hand, I'll feel really good because that's the last of my lingering sock projects. So when that's done, all I have are my current pair of socks. There was a time when I used to cast on about 3 pairs of socks at once, and it didn't really bother me to have so many going. And now I really do like to kind of limit it to maybe one pair of plain and one pair of patterned. And I'm really excited because when I finish that pair, it means I get to cast on the Ambient Socks by Helen Stewart, which is the second pattern in the Sock Society 3. And I was going to make myself do sock number 1 first, the pattern first design from that one, Luminary Socks, but I'm going to play fast and loose and cast on the second one first. I know, rebel, right? I think this self-isolation is getting to me. I've just become reckless. Not really. Just becoming a little crazy, I think is all it is. Okay, speaking of socks, I have another pair that I've been working on. I showed you this yarn and the cast on first little bit of ribbing last week. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. This is the Robin or Christmas Robin colorway. It's 941 is the number. And I have coordinating red yarn, cayenne pepper, which is 510. And so I decided to do heels, toes, and cuffs in the cayenne pepper colorway. So I cast on the first sock, and I've gotten that far on it. And I decided to do this pair sort of in 2 at a time concurrently, not on the same needle. So I'm at the same point with sock number 2 also. So that feels good to be moving along. It's springtime and the robins are back, and this has just been a fun yarn to work on with that in mind, I guess. Okay, sip of tea, another one. I feel a little breathless here. Too much talking. One last project that I have worked on some this week. Another one that pulled out of my long time hibernating projects, and I showed it to you last week. It's from this book, Knitsnpurls by Sandra MacGyver, and it is called Stratosphere. There's the picture. And I am knitting it in Noro Silk Garden. Excuse me, you gotta reach out of the picture there. In color 337. She's really pretty turquoise and blue, and it's got green in it, kind of a pale pink. And last week I showed you that I had cast on for the, sorry, it's very ungainly. It's big. I've done all the main body. I think I kept calling it a hexagon. I think it's an octagon is actually what it is. And I finished that part. I've worked my way up the back and then cast on for the sleeves. And I think I had done that and knit a few rows last week. So I've added some onto there since then. As you might imagine, you knit your sleeve from wrist to wrist this way. So you can imagine there are quite a few stitches, so it takes a while to get through a row. But, you know, bit by bit we'll get there, and then once that's done, I think then you just kind of sew everything together and end up with a sweater. So we'll see. That's how it works in theory anyway. So I worked on it a little bit this week, but then I turned my attention to the Dorsal Socks and then to the Vicar's Wife socks. So once I get the Vicar's Wife done. I'll feel like I can turn back to that a little bit more. I don't want to lose the momentum I have because I'm that close to finishing this. That's a project I really, really want to get off the needles also. So this week I frogged the last of my projects that needed frogging. Just gonna sit back and relax now. By the way, I've got my just orange Pico tea in my dandelion cup, but this time of the year has reached us. Haven't seen any seeds yet, but there are several bright yellow dandelions in our lawn that I need to get out and dig out before they reach this stage. Anyway, yeah, I finally, I think it was on Friday that I ripped apart the very last project. That actually was a sweater that had been completely finished and I'd worn it a number of times, but it developed a little moth hole. Obviously we've had moths now and again because as I've been going through old projects, I've come across several that have had some moth damage. Anyway, I had considered fixing it and had even started fixing it at one time, got frustrated, put it away again. So I pulled it out and just decided to go ahead and rip it out. And I'm glad I did because in the taking it apart, I found a couple of other areas that had damage that I didn't know they did until the yarn kind of came unraveled and either broke or had some one or two of the plies chewed away. So that turned out to be a good call. I'm also really happy I finally frogged my granito. That was a chore because I had alternated 3 skeins of yarn throughout. So I just had to sort of pick a time and just go for it because it meant basically picking up one ball, winding off 2 rows of knitting, putting it down, pick up the next one, and I'd have to keep like moving this one to the front of the line and then sliding them down because they were twisted up as I knit because I was running the yarn down the side of the sweater. And so yeah, I just had to get in a rhythm. So it was very, very tedious, but happy to say that that's done. And now that yarn can become something new and a different sweater. This is Carol from the not too distant future, just popping in to add a few things. While I was transferring the file from my camera to my computer in preparation for editing, I realized there are a few things I forgot to say. And that actually happens a lot. And usually I'll just say, I'll talk about it on my next episode. And that usually doesn't happen. So I thought while it was still fresh in my mind, I would just sit down, turn on the camera again, and pop this little addendum in here. While I was preparing to do that, I actually realized that this is episode 137, not 136, as I said off the top. Not that it really matters, but just to correct that for the record. Something I wanted to talk about a little bit was that I've adopted sort of a systematic approach to my knitting in the short term. Like sitting down and basically just knocking this sock out. And I don't necessarily recommend that. It takes some of the joy out of the knitting. But for me, after going through all those works in progress that I had accumulating for years and years and years, I just realized that I don't want to be in that position again. And so I'm really determined to finish up the things that I decided to save from the frog pond. And by just, if I can focus on 1 or 2 of those things at a time, I can accomplish that. And so, yeah, while it's not really a knitting style I do recommend, for me right now, that's the motivation I need to get some of these things done. So, just understand where that's coming from. And kind of in a related vein, you may have seen I recorded a special episode that I released on Saturday, which was me looking at my 20 and 20 goals, talking about what I had accomplished up till now and what kind of goals I wanted to add or take away. And since filming that, I gave it a little bit more thought, and it had in my mind that I had to limit it to 20 things. And so I had taken some things off my original list, and I decided to add them back in because for one thing, does the number really matter? It's all a personal goal anyway. It's not like there's some sort of reward at the end, or that I have to fall within any certain guidelines. It really is a very personal kind of challenge. And so I had taken out some skeins of yarn and things like that, and I decided to add them all back in. And I also added in not only the second pattern from the Handmade Sock Society 3, but the first one, and I allowed spaces for the following 4. And I added back in, like I say, the different skeins of yarn that I had set aside with an intention to knit this year. So now my 20 and 20 list, I think I want to say like 32 or 33 or 4, something like that, items on it. But that's okay. I don't want to be so bound by this list that I don't knit anything else that kind of strikes my fancy. So I wanted to include some new, as yet unknown projects in there to keep things fresh. Because I don't want this to become like a chore this year. I definitely am focused on finishing up lingering works in progress, but I don't want it to be the sole focus of my knitting, because then it becomes like a job. And that's not the whole point of this hobby, right? And the other thing I was going to say is entirely unrelated, but do any of you want to pull your hair out yet? I always say my hair grows out, not down. Today's not bad, but I've had way more bad hair days than good lately, and that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to once this is all over, is being able to go in and get a haircut. I actually trimmed Cameron's hair, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. I used the clippers, and well, there was one spot where I went down like right along this thing. It was a little bit shorter than it should have been, but managed to kind of camouflage it. So it doesn't look professional by any stretch, but it definitely looks better than it did, and he was happy enough with it. And I think if this goes on much longer, he'll let me add it again. But I am not letting him anywhere near my hair, so I am just going to have to put up with it until we are done with this whole self-isolation and social distancing period in our lives. I think that's all I wanted to say, so I'll now return you to the regular podcast. Let me think what else. Yeah, I keep saying every week, when you don't go anywhere, there's not a lot to talk about. We had a very nice but very quiet Easter weekend. Cameron did have all 3 days off, so that was great. Except I think it was Friday. Yeah, Friday he actually ran down to, there's 2 stores in town that he oversees. Pardon me, so he had gone down to one to drop something off, I think. And it was busy, so he ended up staying for about an hour and working. So he didn't completely escape work this weekend, but pretty well. And so on Saturday, Friday he washed off the patio and the upstairs deck and our outdoor furniture. Got everything set up, so it's now sort of set up for the season. We spent some time out there on the weekend, and I was out there, like I said, this morning, so it's nice to have all that set up again. And so then Saturday he went grocery shopping. They picked up some alcoholic beverage treats for our own children, and we'd already gotten some Easter treats for the grandchildren. He picked up some more, so he stopped off at one son's, dropped off their stuff, and then when he came home, I guess we had lunch, and then we headed over to our daughter's house and took our own lawn chairs, set them up in the driveway well apart from all the family members, and brought our own drinks, own tea and cookies and stuff, and just sat and had a really good visit with all of them. And then our younger son came by after he worked on Saturday. We sat outside around our fire table again, appropriate distance apart, and had a visit with him. So not quite what we'd planned. Everyone was supposed to have come over on Sunday for supper. So we had a little celebration, but definitely nothing like, we normally would. Oh, just got something in my eye. Feel probably a little mascara or something bothering my contact lens. I'll see if I can go on or if I'll have to stop for a second. Never mind the blinking. Usually we'll wash something away when I blink. And then Sunday, Cameron really wanted to go golfing this weekend, and I really didn't. I like to golf, but I have to really be in the mood for it, and I just wasn't up for it. And so he arranged with my brother-in-law to meet him at the course and go golfing. So he got his golfing in, so that was good. And then we just had a quiet afternoon, and then I cooked chicken for dinner. I was going to roast it, but instead I did this chicken with mushroom sauce in the Instant Pot. It's a recipe I'd done one time before, and it's very good. And what I do like is you do cook a whole chicken, and the recipe has you, brown it on both sides before you cook it, so it doesn't have that kind of washed out icky look from slow cookers or Instant Pots give you on the skin. It gives it a nice brown skin, and made for a richer sauce, because you've got the brown bits that you get up off the bottom with some chicken stock and such. So anyway, that was good. Did some stuffing and mashed potatoes and vegetables and that. So we had a really nice dinner. Part of it just wasn't the same as having a big turkey dinner like we planned. And then Cameron ended up, one of his stores that he oversees is a 2-hour drive away, and through like a little mountain pass. So the store up there has been short-staffed, and it's just a small store, so when there's 1 or 2 people missing, it makes a big difference. So he ended up going up Monday morning and staying over and coming back Tuesday night to give them a hand, so that they could get each main staff member could have some time off and that. So yeah, so it was just kind of quiet around here, but I just basically knit all day. Well, that's not true. I did laundry and stuff too, but I got a good chunk of this sock done Monday and Tuesday. And yeah, I think that's it. Like I say, not much exciting going on here. Yeah, I think I've just been a little bit out of sorts today, and I think part of it is just the just this whole self-isolation getting to me just a little bit. But the good news is that numbers are pretty good here in British Columbia. So all of the social distancing appears to be working. It's alarming seeing other parts of the country or of the world, and really hoping they get a handle on this very soon. British Columbia is a little bit ahead of the rest of Canada because we had the first cases, and so some of the social distancing measures were put in place before other places, and so we are a little bit, our projection, our trend is a little bit ahead of back east, where they're right in the thick of it right now. I think that's it. I hope the weather is as nice where you are as it is here, so you can at least get outside and enjoy a little bit of sunshine and spring air. I wish you all very good health. Stay safe and stay well in the days ahead. Enjoy this time for your crafting. It's what we always kind of wish for, but I think we've had just a little bit too much of a good thing, right? But yeah, I guess just look at it in a positive way, and you know, we definitely, it's given us a chance to hit pause a little bit and to do more of some of the things that we love. Now I'm just rambling, so I am going to say goodbye, and I'll see you next week. So have a good week. Take care until then. Bye.